Welcome back, everyone. It's Straw Hat Squeaks here, and today I've got pretty interesting matchups for you. I've got a quick little one where I played a Law matchup that didn't last super long because, well, there's generally just a pretty easy way to beat Law. And I've got another great matchup for you. It's a Zoro mirror match. So if you're out there and you're getting amped for these treasure cups and you're kind of wondering, man, what do I do into the mirror? How do I generally play it? There is a great lesson to take away from this match so that you don't make this same mistake in the treasure cup and ruin potentially a whole weekend worth of tournaments because you were playing a really bad strategy with some of your units. And we go over all that today and more. So sit tight, grab a drink, and let's jump on into it. Oh, wait. One more thing. It's not Straw Hat Squeaks without a straw hat. So now we got a straw hat. All right, so we're going to wait until somebody pops in here, and it should only take a couple seconds. Hopefully we can get a relatively good matchup. We are going to play Zoro again today. All right, so we've got a Law. So I think most people think that Law is probably favored in this matchup. We are going to go first. We've got a Chopper. We've got a Robin, two of the best cards that we could have in this matchup. So we're going to keep this hand. We're going to start with this Chopper. We're going to deploy it out. Chopper, just standard blocker. We do need to end our turn, otherwise our opponent can't go. So now we're looking here. We're probably expecting some combination of Bij the blocker or Bonnie. There's the Bonnie. Now, if he uses the Bonnie here, that would be a crucial mistake. Knows better than to use the Bonnie because you're just going to lose it to the Zoro swing. So we're actually just going to take our Zoro swing in here because we want to play our Robin down on 3. That's our best bet in terms of being able to kind of take control of this game if we can get this Robin to stick. Now, this is what I would generally expect: a Cat Viper or a Jet Pistol, primarily just because of the fact that that's the best way for Law right now to deal with Robin on 4. It looks like he did use the Bonnie tap with 1. So either a Cat Viper here, which he took Law off the Bonnie. So we're not going to see that. Looks like we do have an attach here on Law, so maybe Cat Viper coming down now with 2 and then swing in for 4. It looks like double attached to Law, actually, so we're not even going to see a Cat Viper here. Gorgeous, which is going to force him to actually just swing for 7,000 because he can't really play anything. He'll lose it to Robin instantly, and that's going to be massive tempo for us. We're just going to take this one, which is an additional card, not trigger the Diable Jumbo. We want to save that to close out the game over some of those deeper blockers. But now we're in a really strong position here. We actually don't need to don up our Robin. We can actually just take Robin and swing into here, or we can just leave Robin active. It's tough. I can see either way. I'm going to swing it in just because we do have the blocker for the Robin, and then I'm actually going to develop 2 units here. Now, normally you would maybe want to keep these counters alive, but I think just getting tempo in this matchup is the most crucial, and so I'm just going to probably play the Sanji out here. I think that you could have made merit to play the Brook, maybe attach to the Zoro, get a 5k swing, but we didn't need it, and we don't need the advantage. We've already got him down to 1 life, so this is looking to be a relatively quick game because we've got a massive board. We've got a massive life advantage here. We still have a decent amount of cards, and regardless of the amount of counters that our opponent has, we can just do really large swings to close this game out and force him to blow a lot of counters that you wouldn't want to blow. So here we see the killer. It's going to take out the Zoro. And then we're going to see probably something else come down in the same vein of trying to take care of that Robin, whether it be a Zoro, whether it be another killer. That's pretty much the only options you really have at this point to taking it out, since we have the Chopper blocker, unless you want to like Cat Viper the Chopper and then swing in with Law with a Don. But we're going to be relatively close to closing this out just because we have our 2 closers, right? We can swing Diable Jumbo through blockers, then we can also swing this Luffy through blockers. And since there is only 1 life remaining, we should actually be able to get through relatively easily. So we did see the Izo come down to tap that, but we did hold the Brook back. I do want to save the Otama in case we would have to go over a large blocker, but we're in a really strong position here. Now, I don't think we have to overcommit to the board. I think that's generally where people tend to get themselves in trouble. So we are just going to swing this in. We are going to, and they left. So it's that simple. What we would have done there is we would have swung the Robin in. We would have probably taken out the killer, since that's the most susceptible to a Law bounce back to take out one of our units. And then we would have, he would have had to play a counter. Then we would have went in and swung with Zoro, and at which point we had 5 left. We've got a few options there. I probably just don the Sanji for 1, putting us at 5,000 there, swing it in again. Now we've burnt 3 counters, where our essential whole goal is just attrition that hand out, right? We're eventually going to get through with our leader, with Diable Jambe, and with that Luffy. So regardless, we've actually got a path to victory no matter what happens on our board. So then we just do that one on Sanji, develop the attack into the counter, develop the Robin onto the board, and proceed to go to the next turn. He's going to play a few cards out, try to clear our board, at which point then we can just full stack a Zoro with Diable Jambe, get that last life, and then have them go their turn, and then we can close it out with Rush Luffy or vice versa. And that's pretty much how we would have closed that game. But generally, if you can get a Robin to stick for 1 turn against Law, you're probably going to win. But that really wasn't that great of a game, so let's see if we can get another one here, maybe a little better this time, maybe something a little more challenging. Maybe our opponent just had a really bad start there. It's kind of hard to know. Looks like now we are going to play a mirror match, Zoro against Zoro, assuming our opponent stays. And looks like they're going to go second. They opt to go second, so we're going first. So we do want to mulligan this hand. It's not very strong. This one's not really strong for first either. We don't have a turn 1 play. We have 3 2K counters in hand, but sometimes that's just the draw you get. Hopefully our opponent's not sitting on, an insane hand either. They didn't mulligan, so looks like they are just going to double down up that Luffy. No big deal. So we're going to swing our Zoro in here, and it's pretty tough. There are a few options. We could put this Zoro down, but then we're probably going to lose it. So I actually think our best option here is just to deploy the Vivi. We could have just deployed the Zoro and just left it active, but I really don't like that on 4. They could always jet pistol it. And since we don't really have many other better attackers in our hand, I think just leaving the Vivi up right now is our best play. Now, that means if we were going to do that, we could have attached the one down to Zoro, but we usually don't want to telegraph that. And we are going to take this one here, and we're actually going to use this trigger on the Luffy. That way he doesn't get the attack this turn with that Luffy, take away a little bit of the tempo, and hopefully we can reestablish ourselves. Now, we do have that Red Hawk, which can be a major game swinger, just in the sense that your opponent sometimes can't play around it, and sometimes they just don't anticipate it. Now, do we want to take another one here? I actually do think we do. This is going to put us in a situation now where we can actually try to force out a lot of counters, go for this Zoro, and try to win board state. We're only behind 1 life, and if we can maintain this board, force him to waste a lot of resources on this, then we can get in a situation where we can burn most of that hand. So now here he's wasted 2 2K counters. We're actually going to drop this Zoro, don it up, and force him to waste another 3,000 worth of counters if he wants to try to keep this alive. And he does. So we actually got 4 cards out of that 1 play. Even if we lose both of our units on board, we have another Zoro to go back and flip counter back on his Zoro, down to 3 cards. We've got massive card advantage at this point. And so now it's just a matter of attrition. How much can we stave off? And so here we take that one. We're going to play it like we don't have any counters. Obviously we do. He's going to swing 6,000 into leader. We are going to stop this one. We're going to stop it with an Otama, just because I don't think we really need it that much in this matchup. Looks like he's got a jet pistol or Zoro off. Not a big deal at all. And so now we've got 7. We really need to calculate out what we want to do here. I don't think we even need to waste a Dom. We can swing this. If we can get a 1,000 counter out of it, that'll be really advantageous for us. I'm not sure why you would save it there and you don't. So we're actually just going to swing Zoro for 5. Again, just trying to kind of take over the game. We've tied life now. We're going to deploy a Sanji here just because we do have 4,000 more worth of counter plus the Red Hawk in hand. And we're actually just going to leave the 2 down up and active. That way we can save one of our units. We're actually going to get to blow this Nami up. He probably should have swung on Zoro first, but maybe he feels that he needs to kind of see what options he's going to have available for him this turn. So we're actually going to get that Nami off of any kind of a swing. Now, they did take Zoro, so we do need to be mindful of that off the Nami, that we are going to see another rusher this turn, guaranteed. But we're actually in, again, a really advantageous board state because they wasted so many cards and so many resources trying to save that one Zoro a few turns ago. That's really put us in a position where we can just fight for board tied at life. Now, we are going to, again, do an Otama here, block and save it. We don't want to show that we have the Red Hawk. That way he'll commit more cards to this Zoro to try to get it right now. So now he's going for it at 7,000, thinks, oh yeah, I've definitely got it. That's when we show the Red Hawk. Take out the Nami, still save the Zoro. Now he's only got 2 down left, so you can't really commit much to that at that point. And now we're definitely in a commanding position. So here we're going to look at this. Probably doesn't have many cards left to save this, but I actually think we just do go to 7K, guarantee that we get it, force it out. And then we have 7 Don left. We do probably want to play both of these this turn. I think that we are in a position where we can close this game out. Actually, we don't need to save the Don. We could just... This is tough. So let's do 6k here. I think we want to try to close next turn. So maybe we actually save this rush Luffy, develop these two, and just go hard with Sanji here. So we're actually going to... We need, what, 4 Don? So we're actually going to add 3 here, do this, and go 7k to force another life out, play the Luffy, give it the 2 rested Don, deploy another Sanji. This is one of those situations where we don't have any counters now, but we would get 3 cards if our opponent tries to go for game. If they don't try to go for game and just go for board clear, they're only getting 2 units. We're going to have 3 units left plus a rusher in hand and 10 Don to only clear 2 life. And our opponent, to even do a lot of that, is going to need to play some of these 5 cards, meaning that they're going to be relatively low on counters, and we should actually be able to clear those just by attrition of low attack. So here, we'll let the Vivi take the Sanji, not a big deal. We kind of anticipated that. The Zoro's probably going to go into our Zoro, take that as well. Again, not a huge deal, not that crippling. Our main priority is keeping at least 2 of these units on the board. If we see a jet pistol, again, not the end of the world. So we do see the rush Luffy here, going to try to take one of our life away, which is not a big deal at all. We'll just let it go through. Get another card, great. And we always do have the option now that we can pivot and actually go for board kill and just attrition off, because we still are ahead in life. But you always do have to worry when you're this low on life that they could just, double drop a Zoro or something like that. So we do still want to try to close this game out relatively quickly. And with 3 up, we have to anticipate a Red Hawk here. So at 4,000, we do need to play around that. So we are going to deploy the Luffy. I don't mind showing it as long as we can force some of these counters out. So we're at, what, 5 there. So we'll force one of the 1,000 or 2,000 counters out, and then we're going to try to go bigger to clear this game. But we want to see actually what our opponent has here, force them to actually show us that you have the answers, and otherwise we'll just clear board if we must at the end. We do have the 3 Don up and remaining that we could always drop the Nico Robin down, reestablish our board presence, and give us something to close next turn, which would even allow us to then close over something like a chopper blocker. So we're looking right now, our opponent's mulling over the 5,000. Do I want to waste a counter? Do I want to take the life here? Can I stave off 3 attacks from my opponent? So they had to use a 2,000 counter, and that's the advantage of using a 5,000 there. That pretty much telegraphs that you do not have a 1,000 counter. So we can probably safely swing this Luffy in as well, because these are the only 2 attacks we really need to go through. So again, there's another 2,000 counter. So we are going to just pump this Zoro to 7,000, because right now this is at 7,000, so it is out of Gum Gum range. If he has a Red Hawk, not a big deal. We can swing on this Luffy here. We can't develop the Robin, so use double counters. Again, not a big deal. So we know we are going to get through here. We don't need to commit these Dons, so we can actually just kill this Luffy, and then we can actually play it off as if we have Red Hawk, forcing our opponent to use those Dons. So we're going to see here now if he can close it out. If he got a rusher here, actually we'll have a good chance to close this. Maybe we should have just went for board attrition, taken the Vivi, taken the Luffy, and then we almost guaranteed would have won it. I will say that's probably a misplay on our part. I think just taking the board once the first attack didn't go through, knowing that we'd have to get both of the last 2. It is pretty unlucky, I guess, to say that all 4 of the cards were 2,000 counters, but you generally have to anticipate that. Hadn't used many of them. The whole deck does primarily run, 12 to 14 2,000 counters, so not really that much of a surprise, but we probably could have played it a little better, a little more clean. So it does look like going to stack the Vivi here, going to stack the Zoro. It looks like maybe boosting up 3 plus 1 for a Zoro 7k swing. You would only have 6k there, so we do need one of these 2 to generally be a counter, 1,000 or 2,000, and we can actually save this game. But yeah, we'll just wait and see. Maybe stacking around, trying to play around the Red Hawk to really get it through. At this point, though, I don't think it matters if you assume I have a Red Hawk. So now we know the rush isn't coming in, so we'll just let that go. You don't really have an out at this point. You take one of these, you keep your 2 up, and then we just finish with the other 2. So this game's pretty much over. We'll let the attacks go through. We'll finish it out. Chopper blocker maybe, but we do have the jet pistol for that as well. So we'll just attach here. 3. We'll actually do this. 3. That's 5, 6, 7. and we'll attack there. We'll get the life here, and then we will just stack this Zoro for game. So there's the life. And so even though we started with a relatively weak hand, we actually brought it back mainly just because our opponent misplayed. Our opponent misplayed in playing all of those counters really early to try to save that Zoro. I think there's just a level of knowing when to let your units go, that you gave away too many resources, right? We got in this kind of grindy match at around 3 life where we're just dropping cards down and trading off the board state. But the problem is you gave away 4 effective units that could have been board units to help you control that board, to save 1 unit that essentially never even really got a great attack through the rest of the way because you weren't even optimally swinging with Don, at which point I'm just playing a 2000 counter, stopping it, and you wasted a lot of utility to try to save that unit. So the main takeaway that we can take away from this match specifically is that sometimes it's okay to let your units go and don't always just jam counter after counter. And if you've committed 1 counter to see what they're going to do and then they go right back into it, it doesn't mean that now you have sunk cost fallacy and you have to double down and, okay, well, now I'm 2 counters deep, I got to go 3 counters deep, because that's usually just how you get yourself in a hole. Good players are going to take massive advantage of that, and you're generally going to run out of steam, especially in a mirror match where your goal is faces to plays. So what do y'all think? Did we play that last matchup right? Maybe minus that one little misplay where we probably just should have controlled the board and kind of stayed with the same tempo that we had went the whole time. Got a little bit greedy, but other than that, I think it was relatively smooth. I think that matchup's generally how you would want to play the mirror, even with a weaker hand. And sometimes even with a weaker hand, you can still just exploit, player inexperience in the sense that maybe making a misplay on their side. And that's not to say that our opponent was inexperienced, but that you sometimes you make a questionable call mid-match, right? Just like we made a questionable call near the end of that match. Our opponent definitely did with that Zoro, sunk a little too many resources into it, and we were able to capitalize. So let me know in the comment section what you guys would have done. Would you have done something differently? Would you have done something differently if you were the opponent, or would you normally sink that much into the Zoro and just hope it sticks? Let me know, but otherwise, I'll see y'all next time.